Hi, Kate here. Okay, have you ever woken up in the middle of the night having a nightmare and actually really feeling the fear inside your body? Maybe even woke up screaming. Or sometimes I wake up having a really sad dream and I find that I'm crying in my sleep. Or maybe you've started crying in a movie. What's happening here is that although the movie or although the dream aren't real, your unconscious minds can't actually tell the difference between something that's real versus something that's just imagined, and so it responds in the same way. This principle can be really useful to us when we use it in the right context, as we're going to do in an exercise today. Of course, sometimes it doesn't work in the right context. I'll share with you a very quick example. At my school, we used to have this awards ceremony at the end of term. And there'd be various prizes and your name would be called out and you'd have to walk up these steps to get to the stage to then collect your prize. And every year I used to be petrified that I would trip on these steps and fall in front of the whole school. And it'd be massively embarrassing. I'd be mortified. So I'd be sitting there through the whole ceremony, watching all the various children going up, but really my focus and my heart was beating 10 to the dozen because I was so worried that I was going to trip on these stairs. And I'd picture myself tripping on the stairs and then feeling embarrassed. It was a really unpleasant experience. And guess what? Year on year, when I'd go up onto the stage, I would trip on those stairs. I mean, how could I not? I spent all this time practicing doing it. All I was then doing was acting out something that I had practiced. So my unconscious mind was actually being very obedient. So this exercise works on this principle. It's called personal editing. It's a version of mental rehearsal. And it's a great activity for you to do before you go to bed each night. Okay, so let's just get started with it. Okay, I want you to think about your problem. And I want you to think about a specific context recently where you were acting in an undesirable way, where this problem was really acting out. Okay, so think a specific recent event. And I want you to imagine it's now like a movie playing in front of you. Just run from the start to the end of this day when this problem and the behaviours that you have with this problem play out. Let's just do that for me now. Play the movie in your mind. Okay. Now, as you played that, I'm sure you noticed key points that would be worth changing. Okay? You might think, I wish I'd acted differently. I wish I'd responded differently. I wish I'd been more confident. Or I wish I'd been more flexible in my behaviour. I wish I'd made a different choice at that moment in my day. There were multiple choices available to me, and I wish I made a different choice. Okay? Now, one of the ways that we can change this is to think about how somebody else would do it. Okay, so I have a mentor that I aspire to become. And whenever I have a difficult situation in my life, I simply ask myself, what would she do? How would she do this? How would she act? How would she walk through this situation? What would she think? What would she believe about the situation? And how would it be different for her? And when I picture her in my mind, I actually close my eyes and I visualize her in front of me. I see it so differently, and I give myself new options and new choices. So think now about somebody that you know that would do this the way you would like to be. Maybe it's somebody that you know well, or maybe it's somebody that you know from afar. But just want you to now imagine that you're them. And picture the movie again. Almost see it as if you're the creative director, you're the choreographer of your movie, okay? See it up in front of you. And I want you to play the film of that event again that day, when those behaviours played out. But this time, the lead character is the person that you're thinking of that would do it brilliantly. Play the movie now. And watch what they're doing. Notice how they move differently, breathe differently. Notice the choices that they make. and how that impacts on their environment and on other people. What do they believe about themselves? What are they saying to themselves? What's their inner voice communicating to them? Notice how they react to others. What speed do they move at or talk at? What's the tone like? All of these small details help create the experience, the way that they do this differently. Okay, just end the movie there. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of different options and choices before you by doing it this way. Let's just do it one more time. Just picture this person who does this brilliantly, who doesn't have this problem and manages it excellently. And just once again, put them into this context. This time notice even more about the way they manage the situation, how they behave, how they influence their life. And remember, you can close your eyes to help you visualize. Excellent. Okay, good. Now, as I said earlier, your unconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's created. So when you picture stuff in your mind, like you're doing at the moment, your unconscious mind is actually being retrained. You're reprogramming it, okay? So now let's do this with you as the lead character this time. So see the movie up in front of you again. Now I want you to float up out of your body and into the movie, into the shoes of the person you were thinking of a moment ago, and you become the lead character now. And I want you to act out the day, just like the person you were thinking of a moment ago, just like the way they did it. Imagine that you're in that day once again, and notice how it's playing out so differently. Doesn't it feel fantastic to choose what you do, how you behave, how you're controlling your life and the way that you live it? Notice how many opportunities unfold when you're this way. Because this is much more of who you truly are, isn't it? Excellent. Okay, just float back out of that movie, back into your body and into now. So it's a nice simple exercise for you to practice at the end of every day. Just take that day, imagine loading it into your movie player, and play the movie of your day. And then notice the parts of the movie that you want to change, to edit, to clean up. You can make them brighter or bigger. Allow your intuition to guide you and how you should best make alterations to this movie. And then once you're happy with the movie, as we just did, step into it and experience it as if you're there. Now, I had a lady that was actually on a training program with us quite recently, and she'd been using the personal editing and getting great results. It was one of her favourite tools, and she absolutely loved it. And she gave me this extra tip, which she had just found by experiment, and she shared it with me, and I started using it, and now I share it with all of my coaching clients and our students as well. So let me share it with you now. It's a nice little extra. So she would do her personal editing at the end of the day. She was working on issues around her motivation, her confidence, and also in relating to how much exercise she was doing for her fitness levels and for her weight loss. And so she was working a lot at the same time, and you can, that's great. And so she'd been doing the personal editing at the end of the day. And then she started imagining the movie of the following day. Imagining everything that was happening for her. and seeing how she would like her day to act out. So she would wake up, imagine herself waking up in the morning feeling totally energized and making great choices about her nutrition, about her exercise, about the way she was within herself, the way she felt, the way she was at work, how she was with her relationships, the choices she was making, the opportunities that she was creating in her life. When she was in bed at night, she'd imagine the next day ahead of her. It's almost like a diary for the future. It's a lovely little technique. I've added it to my own personal rituals for personal editing, so I do both at the end of the day. And I have to tell you, it makes the biggest difference. Remember, these exercises they're not just the power of NLP, it's the power of your mind. This stuff already works because you work. Your unconscious mind is the most incredibly powerful tool. And as you're committing to it in the way that you are, you're creating a relationship with it that is going to last you for a lifetime. And I'm excited to be sharing these exercises with you and for you to be taking hold of them and using them and getting great results. So when you go to bed tonight, load up the movie of your day. Imagine how your mentor, your guru would do it. Become that guru yourself. Do it. And then choreograph your next day. And know that you're making deep, powerful changes at the unconscious level when you do these things. Enjoy.